The amphitheater buzzed with nervous energy as 300 delegates from across the Galactic Council settled into their seats. I adjusted my thermal suit, grateful for the climate controls keeping the temperature at a civilized 70 degrees. My name is Vex-Tallon, senior xenobiologist and survival instructor for the Council's Frontier Expansion program, and today I had the dubious honor of preparing these bright-eyed colonists for what awaited them on hostile worlds. Welcome, everyone. I called out, my translator converting my clicks and whistles into Universal Standard. Today's briefing covers survival protocols for Category 5 death worlds. Statistical probability of first night mortality, 90%. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Good. Fear kept people alive. Let me paint you a scenario, I continued, pulling up a holographic display of a forest planet. You crash land on an unexplored world. Temperature fluctuates 60 degrees between day and night. The atmosphere contains microbial spores that can colonize your respiratory system within hours. Predators hunt in coordinated packs. Water sources carry parasites that burrow through skin. Vegetation includes plants that explode when touched, releasing neurotoxins. Questions? A tentacle shot up from the Glorbian section. Yes? Instructor Vex-Tallon, how do we identify safe shelter? Excellent question. You don't. Every cave could house territorial predators. Every tree hollow might contain venomous insects. Your best option, find high ground, stay awake, and pray to whatever deity your species favors. I noticed a figure in the back row, slouched in their seat with feet propped on the chair in front. Bipedal. Wearing what appeared to be a thin fabric jacket. No environmental suit. The height and build suggested no. It couldn't be. Excuse me, delegate in the back. Yes, you with the problematic posture. Species identification. The figure sat up slightly, and I felt my respiratory sacs constrict. Pale skin. Forward-facing eyes. The distinctive lack of natural armor or defensive adaptations. Human, came the response in a drawling tone that my translator rendered as somehow both bored and amused. Name's Marcus Webb. Earth delegation. The amphitheater erupted in whispers. Everyone had heard the stories. The species that evolved on a world so hostile it made Category 5 planets look like resort destinations. The ones who thought persistence hunting meant chasing prey for days until it died of exhaustion. The absolute maniacs who domesticated wolves, climbed mountains for fun, and consumed ethanol as a recreational activity. A human, I repeated, trying to keep my voice steady. How delightful. Tell me, Delegate Webb, are you paying attention? Oh, absolutely, Marcus said, and I swear I detected mockery in his tone. 90% mortality rate. Very scary. My ancestors called situations like this Tuesday. Laughter. The human was laughing. Perhaps you'd like to share your expertise. I kept my voice professionally cold. Sure. Marcus stood up, stretching with an audible crack that made several delegates recoil. Mind if I come down there? Before I could respond, he vaulted over 3 rows of seats, landed with a roll, and jogged up to the stage. No environmental suit. No visible weapons. Just fabric clothing and what appeared to be leather boots. So, Marcus said, examining the holographic planet, this is what you're calling a death world. Category 5. The highest classification. Right. He nodded sagely. And what's the gravity? 1.2 standard. So basically Earth normal. Cool. Oxygen content. 19%. Also Earth normal. Neat. What about the temperature swings? 60 degrees between day and night. I emphasized. Fahrenheit or Celsius? Celsius, obviously. Marcus shrugged. That's just camping in the Rockies. Bring a jacket. I felt my confidence wavering. The predators hunt in packs. So did our ancestors. That's literally why we're good at teamwork. The water has parasites. Boil it. Or filter it. Or, recognize that humans have been drinking sketchy water for millennia. Our immune systems are basically paranoid security guards who attack everything. The plants are poisonous. Most plants everywhere are poisonous. You just have to know which ones won't kill you. Trial and error, baby. I noticed my audience was now watching Marcus instead of me. This was unacceptable. Fine, I said, changing tactics. Let's discuss hostile fauna. This planet has apex predators weighing 500 pounds with razor-sharp claws, night vision, and territorial instincts. How do you handle that? Marcus scratched his chin. 500 pounds. That's like a bear. A what? A bear. We have those on Earth. Actually, we have several species of bear. Some weigh over 1,000 pounds. Humans have been dealing with them since we lived in caves. And how exactly do you deal with such creatures? I demanded. Well, first you try to avoid them. Make noise so they know you're there. Store food properly. If you do encounter one, you make yourself look big, back away slowly, and definitely don't run, because they're faster than you. And if it attacks? Marcus's expression turned serious. Then you fight for your life, because you don't have a choice. Humans are good at that. We didn't climb to the top of Earth's food chain by being pushovers. We did it by being stubborn, mean when cornered, and way too clever for our own good. A Threxian delegate raised a claw. Excuse me, but Earth is classified as a Category 12 death world. How did your species survive long enough to develop civilization? Spite, mostly, Marcus said cheerfully. Also tools. And fire. We love fire. You know what's great about fire? It scares predators, cooks food, purifies water, provides warmth, and signals for help. One solution, multiple problems solved. I tried to regain control. Tools require resources and time to manufacture. Not really. Marcus picked up a stylus from my podium and a datapad. Hard object, flat surface. Boom. I can make a blade by striking them together correctly. Find 2 sticks and some dried grass. I can make fire. Humans got really good at improvising because Earth kept trying to kill us. The microbial spores, will our immune systems recognize them as threats? Probably not immediately. Will some of us get sick? Sure. Will some of us die? Maybe. But some of us will survive, develop resistance, and pass that resistance to our offspring. That's literally how we survived every plague, epidemic, and pandemic in our history. This was spiraling out of control. You're being remarkably cavalier about potential death. Marcus met my eyes, and for a moment, I saw something that made my survival instinct scream. It wasn't madness, exactly. It was the calm confidence of a species that had faced extinction-level events, and shrugged them off. Instructor Vex-Tallon, he said quietly, I'm not being cavalier. I'm being realistic. Yes, this planet you're describing sounds dangerous. But humans have been handling dangerous since we figured out how to walk upright. We crossed oceans in wooden boats. We settled deserts, tundras, jungles, mountains. We survived ice ages, volcanic winters, asteroid impacts. We didn't do it because we're invincible. We did it because we're adaptable, stubborn, and we take care of each other. The amphitheater had gone completely silent. Your 90% mortality rate. Marcus continued. For most species here, I believe it. They didn't evolve on worlds that actively wanted them dead. But humans? We'll lose some people, sure. But the survivors will figure it out. They'll learn what's edible, what's poisonous, where the predators hunt, when to hide and when to fight. And then they'll build something. Because that's what we do. I found myself at a loss for words, which rarely happened. Tell you what, Marcus said, his tone lightening. How about a demonstration? You've got training scenarios, right? Simulated hostile environments. Well, yes, but great. Let's run one. Me versus your Category 5 death world. Show these fine delegates what a human can actually do. What happened next would become known across the Galactic Council as either the most educational or most terrifying training session in history, depending on who you asked, and I had front row seats to the chaos. The training facility's main simulation chamber hummed to life as I initialized the scenario. Around us, 300 delegates pressed against the observation windows, their various appendages, optical organs, and sensory equipment focused entirely on the arena below. I had activated Protocol Nightmare 7, a simulation so lethal that only 4% of trained operatives survived past the first hour. Marcus stood in the center of the chamber, rolling his shoulders like this was some kind of warm-up exercise. No armor. No weapons. Just his fabric clothing and that infuriating confidence. Just to clarify the parameters, I announced over the intercom, my voice perhaps a touch more satisfied than professionally appropriate. The simulation will replicate a Category 5 environment. Temperature will drop to near freezing at night. Holographic fauna are programmed with genuine predator behavior patterns. Environmental hazards include toxic plants, contaminated water sources, and unstable terrain. You have 2 hours to establish shelter, locate potable water, and survive until extraction. The system will monitor your vital signs. If they reach critical levels, we terminate the scenario. Sounds fun. Marcus called back, and I genuinely could not tell if he was being sarcastic. Beginning in 3, 2, 1, the chamber transformed. The smooth metallic floor became rough terrain covered in alien vegetation. The temperature plummeted. Artificial sunlight dimmed to late afternoon levels, casting long shadows through the simulated forest. The humidity spiked, and even through the observation window, I could see condensation forming. Marcus immediately started moving. Not panicking, not running, just walking with purpose, his head swiveling as he scanned his surroundings. He stopped at a tree, examined the bark, then looked up at the canopy. "What's he doing?" whispered a Glorbian delegate beside me. "Observing," I admitted grudgingly. "Looking for patterns. Water flow on bark indicates direction of prevailing winds. Canopy density suggests game trails below." Marcus knelt, digging his fingers into the soil, then brought it to his nose. He actually smelled it. Then he stood, brushed his hands on his pants, and started walking uphill. "Why uphill?" another delegate asked. "High ground provides better visibility, defensible positions, and—" I trailed off as Marcus stopped at a rocky outcropping. "And shelter." He had found a shallow overhang in less than 10 minutes. Marcus ducked inside, checked for simulated threats, then nodded to himself and started gathering materials. Dead branches. Dry leaves. Stones. He arranged them with practiced efficiency. His building a fire, I explained to the audience, though honestly, I was narrating for my own benefit too. Using the overhang to protect it from rain and reflect heat. The stones will retain warmth throughout the night. Marcus struck 2 rocks together. Once. Twice. Sparks flew. On the 7th strike, the dried moss he'd prepared caught. He carefully fed it with twigs, building the flame with the patience of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. "Incredible," breathed a Threxian. "He created combustion with rocks." "Humans have been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years," I said, and even I could hear the respect creeping into my voice. With fire established, Marcus ventured back out. The simulation's sun was setting now, temperature dropping rapidly. He found a stream, the kind I'd programmed with mild parasites and bacteria, and filled a container he'd fashioned from a large leaf folded and sealed with tree sap. Then he carried it back to his fire and suspended it over the flames using a tripod of green sticks. "He's boiling the water," I announced unnecessarily. "Heat kills the pathogens." "But how did he know the water was contaminated?" someone asked. "He assumed it was," I replied. Humans have learned that assumption keeps them alive. While the water boiled, Marcus gathered more firewood, piling it methodically. Then he did something that made several delegates gasp. He grabbed a burning branch and walked into the darkening forest. "What is he doing?" The Glorbian sounded panicked. "The predators will be hunting soon." Marcus returned 15 minutes later dragging something behind him. A simulated herbivore, medium-sized, with a crude spear lodged in its throat. He'd fashioned the spear from a straight branch, sharpened one end with rocks, and apparently ambushed the creature near the water source. That's not possible," I muttered. "The reaction times on those creatures, humans are ambush predators too," Marcus said, apparently hearing me through the intercom. He waved at the observation window. "We're not the fastest or strongest, but we're patient. And we throw things really, really accurately. It's kind of our thing." He proceeded to field dress the animal with a sharp rock, the process brutal and efficient. Several delegates turned away. Marcus didn't seem bothered in the slightest. He cut the meat into strips, suspended them over the fire on a makeshift rack, and sat back to wait. "He's smoking the meat for preservation," I explained to the queasy-looking audience. "Ensuring he has food for multiple days. In 1 hour, he has secured shelter, water, fire, and food," a delegate said slowly. "Things that should take days." "Humans are good at this," I admitted. "Annoyingly good." The simulation's night fell completely. Temperature dropped to 4 degrees Celsius. Most species in that chamber would be hypothermic by now. Marcus simply fed his fire, wrapped himself in his jacket, and settled against the rock wall. He'd positioned himself where he could see the approaches to his shelter, spear within reach, fire between him and the darkness. That's when I activated the predators. 3 of them, based on pack hunting canines. Smart. Coordinated. Each weighing about 70 pounds with excellent night vision and a taste for flesh. They approached Marcus's shelter with textbook pack tactics, 2 flanking while 1 drew attention from the front. Marcus didn't move. Didn't even appear to tense. He simply watched the darkness, eyes reflecting firelight like a predator himself. The lead hologram lunged. What happened next occurred so fast that I had to review the recording later to understand it. Marcus grabbed a burning branch with one hand, thrust it at the attacker's face while simultaneously rolling sideways and bringing his spear up with the other hand. The first creature yelped and retreated. The second leaped. Marcus pivoted, using the fire branch like a sword to drive it back. The third came from his blind side, and for a moment, I thought would finally see the human fail. Instead, Marcus spun, dropped low, and swept the creature's legs with his own. It tumbled. He pinned it with his knee, pressed the burning brand to its flank, and it fled with a simulated howl of pain. The other 2, Seeing their pack mate routed, retreated into the darkness, Marcus calmly returned to his fire, added more wood, and checked his water. The entire fight had lasted maybe 20 seconds. The observation room erupted in excited chatter. He fought 3 predators simultaneously. Did you see that movement? That's trained combat behavior. No, that's instinct. Humans evolved that. They evolved being that dangerous. I watched Marcus settle back down, apparently satisfied that the immediate threat had passed. He pulled out a strip of cooked meat, bit into it, and chewed thoughtfully while maintaining watch on the perimeter. Instructor Vex-Tallon, a voice said behind me. I turned to find High Chancellor Mortes, one of the Council's senior members. I believe we've seen enough. Please terminate the scenario. But there's still an hour remaining, I said. Terminate it. I shut down the simulation. The hostile environment dissolved, replaced by the sterile chamber. Marcus stood, stretched, and walked toward the exit like he'd just finished a casual stroll. When he emerged into the observation area, the delegates parted like water, creating a path. Respect, fear, and something like awe painted their faces. So, Marcus said cheerfully, do I pass? High Chancellor Mortes stepped forward, all 4 of his eyes fixed on the human. Delegate Webb, I must ask. Is your performance typical of human capabilities? Marcus laughed. Typical? No, sir. I'm a trained wilderness guide. But is it possible for most humans? Yeah, with practice. We teach kids this stuff at summer camps. Well, minus the predator fights. Usually. I heard myself ask. Okay, sometimes there are bears. Look, the point is, humans can learn this. We're adaptable. That's our superpower. You put us somewhere new, we figure it out. Sometimes through trial and error. Sometimes people die. But we learn, we adapt, and eventually we thrive. The Chancellor was quiet for a long moment. Your species wishes to join the Frontier Expansion Program. That's the plan, sir. Then I believe the Council needs to reconsider our approach to hostile world colonization. If humans can do this, he gestured at the chamber, then perhaps our other species can learn from your methods. Would you be willing to develop a joint training program? Marcus grinned. I'd be honored. Though I gotta warn you, some of the techniques might seem a little crazy. After what I just witnessed, the Chancellor said dryly, I suspect everything about your species seems a little crazy. Yeah, that's fair. I found myself approaching Marcus, my professional pride bruised, but my scientific curiosity burning bright. Your planet really is that hostile? Worse, actually, Marcus said. The simulation was intense, don't get me wrong. But Earth has weather that can kill you in minutes, animals that hunt humans for food, plants that can poison you with a touch, and diseases that have wiped out millions. We've dealt with it all. And you know what? We're still here. Still spreading. Still surviving. That's terrifying, I said honestly. Or inspiring, depending on your perspective. Marcus clapped me on the shoulder, a gesture that made me flinch. Look, instructor, your training program is good. Really good. But you're teaching people to be afraid of death worlds. Maybe instead, teach them to be ready for death worlds. There's a difference. As the delegates filed out, chattering excitedly about human survival methods and requesting copies of the simulation recording, I stood alone in the observation room, watching the empty chamber point 90% mortality rate. That's what I'd claimed. But watching Marcus Webb turn a hostile environment into a home in under 2 hours, I realized something profound and slightly disturbing. Humans didn't survive death worlds despite the danger. They survived because of it. The danger made them sharper, smarter, more adaptable. It forged them into something that could thrive anywhere, and now they were joining the Galactic Council, bringing that terrifying adaptability with them. The galaxy, I reflected, had no idea what was coming, but after today, at least 300 delegates did. And judging by their reactions, they couldn't decide whether to be excited or absolutely petrified, probably both. Which, thinking about it, was the most reasonable response to humans I'd encountered yet.